No, I have this whole thing, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. If that happens, it's because, well, you're not getting.
This is what we.
This is getting a bit more. Mine is looking quite weak in comparison, I have to admit. Really good. This is like a really good, like, just technique in general. Use that stop them during that.
I feel like the guy on top's knee.
See that training technique.
Is that the best way to split the legs with the elbow?
You could be on top, it's not a good thing about that. You could be on top. Something to watch later. It's really put out. You alright?
Right.
What's it called? I'll give it forgive. People like coming. We've lost Will, but we've gained Stan.
Yes. And you are blessed for it.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, so basically, today I'm going to go over some armbar entries and the finishes for armbars, like I said last week. It's going to be a lot less video today and a lot more technique, me showing the technique, okay? So I'm going to still show you two bits of footage. The first one we're going to start for is showing the armbar from bottom position, and a good showing of this is from JM Holland versus Ethan Creliston. This is a dead orchard, which isn't a full-on armbar or like exactly the way I'm going to show you, but it still shows the good principles that you need to control the joint above the joint you're trying to break. Okay, and I explain what I mean by that during the video. Okay. Also, I'm slightly ill today, so I'm not going to go for the whole 45 minutes. Probably just going to go for the 30 minutes. Probably go overboard because I chat too much anyway. So let's start with this finish here, okay? So, okay. So, let's go back a bit. Okay, so this shows a lot of the good things you need when you're trying to finish your armbar, and a lot of the ways you're trying to control. Okay, this is a dead orchard finish, which is slightly different, but it still shows the main things we're trying to control when we're trying to control and hold the armbar position, and then get to a good finishing position. Okay, so during this sequence, okay, JM breaks his posture. Okay, he's able to get Ethan's arm he's attacking. Okay, he's trying to attack his right arm at the moment. This arm here, the arm that's on top of Ethan's head, is the arm that JM wants to attack. Okay, during this maneuver here, he's using his leg to feed that elbow past his hip line, okay, which is a minimum what we need when we're going for arm bars from the bottom. Okay, I'll show you what I mean when I'm showing it on stand. But minimum, we need his elbow inside of our hip to at least start attacking the armbar. Okay, if his elbow's outside of our hip, it's not going to happen. You see it happen a lot in rounds where people are trying to stall or trying to be safe. People kind of put their elbows to the ground, and this stops them from getting armbarred. It also stops you from getting triangled in ways and stuff where it opens it up. Putting elbows to the ground is not the best defense. It's just but you can be very stally there. Okay, so he's controlled his elbow, put it on the inside here. He gets what we call a dead orchard. Okay, dead orchard is when you've basically controlled both the shoulders and you're controlling both of the arms inside of the lock. Okay, when I show the top lock in a bit, which is a version of this, dead orchard is just basically a top lock. If you're very, very, very long limbed, you can move straight to a dead orchard when you're in a top lock. Okay, I'll show you what a top lock is in a bit, but I want to just show you this finish first. Okay, so now he starts attacking for this arm, spins into his back, and now he works to bring his leg over his head, and then he's finishing. Okay, and now another important thing happens during this sequence. Okay, when James finishing. Okay, you see which side the arm he's breaking over. Okay. When he brings it, he starts off by bringing it over his lower hip, okay? So he's attacking Ethan's right arm, and he's bringing it over his right hip, okay? And bringing the hand towards his right shoulder. Okay? What happens during this transition now, he switches to the other side because he feels like he can get a break on the other side. This, therefore, lets Ethan start turning out. Look, so he begins to turn out, but then he brings it back over to the correct side, stopping that whole turning motion. Now, basically, Ethan here is dead to rights. He can't spin out. He hasn't got control of his arm anymore, and it's just up to JM now to continue breaking it over that hip. Okay. But you see, during that transition, he brings it over the correct hip, and it's bad, so he can't move. But as he moves, he feels like he's lost the elbow, so he turns the other way. Realistically, what he should do there is pull back to that side, which he does. Okay. But he brings it to this side, which allows Ethan to turn, but then he switches it correctly to the other side and finishes the armbar, okay? I'll show you what I mean with this, okay? There skips a few steps I'm going to go over because in dead orchards, it's quite a lot easier to fight just to extend the arm. There's more of a fight to extend the arm, you'll see in a bit. But here he gets the arm extended quite quickly and then just moves to fully normal armbar position, extends it again, and there, exactly finishes, okay? So, let's go over what I mean by all this. Okay. So from bottom, okay. So when I'm in guard, right? Okay. When I'm in guard, you don't need to see my head. It's fine, right? The least thing we need to do here is at least get his elbow, okay, inside of my hip. Okay, so my hip's here. I need to get his elbow at least inside of it. Okay, so it's past it. Anytime it's outside, it's going to be impossible for me to start moving to bring my leg over his head. Okay, it at least needs to be on the inside. Perfect case scenario, okay, is we get his elbow to my center line. Okay, If I get his elbow to my center line, this is perfect. It's going to be very easy for me to switch to arm bars. So best case scenario is his elbow is on my center line. At least a minimum scenario is I need his elbow inside of my hip. So anything in between is good. Okay, perfect. A minimum, and then not good. His elbow's on the outside here. Okay. And also the other thing I need to be controlling, okay, which is taken for granted in gi, is I need to have his posture broken at all times. Okay. What happens a lot is people show these arm bars where they've got double hands on the wrist like this, and they turn the angle, throw their legs over, and they just get arm bars. Okay. This doesn't happen because exactly what Stanley just did. He can gain his posture. Okay. This is one of the main problems you have from bottom is him gaining posture. So until I get one of my legs over the back of his head, I need to be at least controlling his posture with my hands. Okay. So usually what I'm going to be doing is one hand on the head, and my other hand is on his elbow. Okay. Or at least pushing his elbow onto the inside. Okay. If he's got bicep ties, we just do stuff like I bring my hands in like we do normally, bring his wrist to my chest, and then I'll get my hand to control his elbow. Okay. Because if I control his wrist, okay, which is what people show a lot, this is fine in gi, okay, because I have control of his sleeve. If he tries to pull out, I still have good control of his sleeve, okay, and also I can get grips like a collar as well. In gi, in Nogi, sorry, this is too easy for him to escape, okay, mainly because of the movement of his elbow. Most people, if I get control of his the 2-on-1 on his wrist, he'll just bring his elbow down to the floor like this. Yeah, this is perfect. I can't do anything to it. Like that was a very simple movement for Stanley to do, basically, and not putting himself in any problems way there. Okay, so what I do from here, I get control of that elbow, and on my other hand is controlling his posture. Okay, the reason my hand is behind his elbow like this and not on top, like you would think, okay, can I do this? No, because he can also move his elbow like I just showed. Okay, my hand is behind his elbow, creating basically a wedge. So if he tries to pull his elbow down, he can't. Okay, it's the same thing where we're standing. Okay, so if me and Stanley were standing, okay, and he has grips on me, okay, and he wants to go for my legs, but I have grips on his elbows here. If he tries to pull his body down now, it's very, very hard. He can't grab my legs, okay, because I have control. This is the same thing. It stops him from being able to pull his elbows in, okay. If I had control in front of his elbows, he'd just put his arms in and then shoot, okay. So I'm always trying to control underneath, like this, okay. So I have my posture, okay, and I have control of his arm now, okay. When I'm trying to break, if he tries to lift his posture up, okay, the way I would do this is just doing crunches basically. I'll bring my knees to my chest, and this pulls him in, okay, and then I can just go back to my grips. Anytime a guy heavily pulls out, like a guy's huge or strong, and he really just postures up heavily, okay, this is my opportunity to underhook and go to legs. I can also go to sweeps from here, okay, but this is my opportunity to go to legs. There will be times when a guy's too big and strong, and he'll consistently bring him explode out into a good posture. This is the time I start going for legs. And if it's more his IBJJF, and I just use his legs to get into positions where I could sweep. Okay. So control of his head, control of his elbow. Now what I'm going to do is I need to control his shoulder. Okay. So what I do from here is I'm going to bring this leg or my hamstring over the top of Stanley's shoulder here, okay? So as you can see in the camera, you shouldn't be able to see his shoulder when I do this maneuver, okay? So I bring my leg up, clamp over his shoulder. Now my other leg folds over the top like this, okay? And I'm pinching my knees in, and my hips are slightly off the ground. My hands, if my hips completely hit the ground, there's still some space for him to pull his elbow out like this, okay? So I'm lifting my hips and pinching. Okay, pull your elbow out. Okay, it's very hard for him to pull his elbow out now, okay? You see, like in the video we just saw, he basically is getting to this position, but he has long enough legs. Let's see if I still have long enough legs to lock this into a complete triangle. Okay. So at the moment, I'm just covering Stanley's shoulder, and my feet are in the middle of his back, basically. Okay. If I had really long legs like JM in this video, okay, I can completely triangle over the shoulder. Okay. Stanley's a bit bigger than me, so it's quite hard for me to do here. But I can completely triangle over here. Now I have control of both of his arms. I could finish without even bringing my leg over if I wanted to, or like JM does, I switch and go leg over, okay? But this is for people who are blessed with longer limbs, okay? Or you can sometimes hit it on people similar sizes, okay? But a high percentage is just going to be the top lock. Okay, so the top lock is that position where I'm controlling his head, controlling his elbow, my leg comes over and controls this shoulder here, okay? Now I can let go of his head. Okay, so I can let go of his head because now my legs are keeping his posture broken. If he tries to come up now, he can't, okay? Also, if the guy was huge and strong here, once again, we go back to the legs, okay? If he explodes up, then we go back to the legs. Okay? So now from here, I need to start switching the angle. Most people are going to defend. If he stays in this position and doesn't defend his arm, without even bringing my leg over, I can just finish the arm bar here, okay? So usually people are going to defend, so they're going to bring their arms in like this. Okay? That's going to be a normal response. Otherwise, I'll just finish with the arm bar from there. Now, I need to get control of this arm, okay? So what I'll do is I'll push this defending arm up first, and now my other hand comes through, and I'm touching my own hip. Okay? So I want to basically get the inside of my elbow wants to touch the inside of his elbow here, like this. Okay? Now this is where I'll start switching the angle. So I'll underhook his leg, and I'll pivot my legs like this. This knee should be behind his head. If he tries to posture, this knee and this leg should be stopping him. Okay. Also, if he lifts his head too high and doesn't posture correctly, it makes it very easy for me to bring my other leg over. Okay. So I'm in this position, the weight of my body controlling his arm, and also the scissoring motion of my legs to keep him down. Now I need to do a minimum movement with my knee. If I go really wide here, it's easy for him to bring his arm in or start pulling his arm out. Okay. So from here, I need to be a small motion where I bring my knee in front of his head. Okay. So from here, it's just I want to basically touching his head the whole time, and then throw it over. Okay. And my goal is to at least get my knee above his ear. If it's lower than his ear, he can posture. See all this? So I need to get my the crook of my knee above his ear. Now this leg is controlling his posture the whole time. Okay? And my other leg is controlling his body. This can be used for sweeps, I'll show in a bit. But from here, I do not lock my legs up at all when I'm on bottom either. Okay? Because this leg needs to be consistently putting pressure into the back of his head. If I lock my legs up here, I have no pressure on the back of his legs, he can start pushing back into me. But if I have my leg on the back of his head here, it's a lot easier. Again, so control his head, control his elbow, coming over the shoulder, switching in if he defends. My hand comes under his leg. I switch. Now my leg comes over. Now we're in this position, okay? Sweeps of this. If so, say if I do want to.
Yeah,
Say if I do want to sweep. So it depends where your weight is, okay?
Yeah.
So if your weight, so you see all the pressure you can put into me is from your legs, okay?
Yeah.
So I always want to aim my feet away from your legs. So what I'll do usually is I aim my positional leg. So this one here that's underneath your armpit. I'll kick it towards your head.
Oh.
Now I'll start to see you losing weight immediately.
Yeah.
And then also, if you posture really heavily into me, I do that. Bring my hand towards the side underneath thing.
And what are you trying to like do by slowing your hand?
To move to this position. So, like that. Okay, right.
Oh.
See if you can move?
Yeah.
What? Okay. No worries. Okay. So also from here, I can move, sweep it, okay? So from here, when I bring my leg over, okay? From here, the main thing I'm going to use to sweep from here is my directional leg here, okay? So you see my leg I'm wiggling now? The one that's, not this leg, the one that's still over underneath Stanley's armpit, I'm going to use this to sweep, okay? The way I do that is whichever point pressure is pushing towards me from, so in this case it's going to be his feet, usually if he's pushing towards me, what I do is I aim my foot away from where the pressure's coming from, okay? So the pressure's coming from his feet, so I'm going to aim my top foot towards his head, okay? See how it's come up higher? This makes him lose base in this direction, and I can just hit through. Okay, there's a glass table right in front of us, so I'm not going to do it, but I would hit through and knock him over onto his back, and then I can start going for my finishers, okay? Also, I'm not going to be able to show, it's going to be hard to show on the camera, but another way to pressure him, if the guy heavily pushes into me like Stanley's doing now, see his come up on his leg, okay? My free hand, okay, I'm always controlling his arm, my free hand comes to his hip, and I slide, I bring straighten my leg, I bring my body to the opposite side, like this, and now I can finish from here, or roll him over and get the finish, okay? It's hard to see because there's not much space in the room. Okay? That was just the, so basically after you knock them over from there, you'd be on top juju, okay? So let's go over the other entry before I go over the finishing, okay? So the other match I'm going to show you is Gary versus Kron, okay? This is a famous match because Kron doesn't actually finish Gary in this sequence, but is very good to watch just for the fact that the entry into the armbar itself and the way he follows is actually very, very good. Okay, so basically, already before this has started, okay, where I paused it, sorry. Kron has already isolated the arms. Okay, he's bring Gary's elbows away from his body, and this is going to allow him to start moving into S mount and going to finishes a lot easier. Okay, so look, he's isolated both arms. Okay, now he's bringing his body up, so he has one knee behind the arm that he wants to attack. Okay, this will open him up, and it also allow him a leg to put weight on as he swings this leg here over into S mount. Okay, you need to have control of the person the whole time when you're going for an armbar. You can't, like the traditional finishes of armbars they show where you like the guy's pushing off you, you push on his chest and you spin round. It's a nice drill maybe for beginners, but even so, like when you're controlling someone who's actively trying to defend and they're defending well, you need to have control of them the whole time. Okay, so that's what he's doing there. He's controlling the arms. He's bringing his knee up behind his armpit. The leg you can't see is behind Gary's armpit, and now he can use that to base out and bring his leg over and move to S mount. Okay, so let's see that happen. Okay, so look, see how his knee's behind that arm. Okay, now he moves to S. Okay, and as soon as he's moved to S mount, now he's starting to look to isolate the arm and start attacking. Okay, now he's bringing his other leg over and he falls back. Okay, you can do it in slower ways. Like the reason he doesn't get the finish almost is because of the lack of control during the fall. Okay, he basically latches onto the arm, which was good. The sequence to get the arm was very good, but he basically falls back and tries to throw his leg over. Okay, you can do it a lot slower than that, a lot more controlled. And this is partly the reason why Gary escapes, okay? So look, he's passing it across the correct hip now. Gary's just a bit game in this, yeah? But you see how he's not completely bringing it over his hip? If you're bringing it down your center line in an armbar, there's, you've got to add there's not enough space almost. He follows him so well here as well. I'll show you what I mean when I show him the finish, okay? Well, let's go over the entry into it again quickly. Very, very, very game escape from Gary in this. Okay, so look, leg under, it's S mount, falls back to the arm. He's trying to finish down his center line too much, which is a problem. Okay, you can show it visually. I'll show you visually when I go for the finish. Okay, so and you usually in an armbar you want to have them on their back because that's when you have the most control. When you're finishing from bottom, you have less control. Okay, let's go over this. Okay. Okay, so let's have already got his arms isolated. Okay, I could go over a whole separate thing of how to isolate arms. Okay, but basically the main gist I'm trying to get, I don't need to get two arms like Kron got. Is good, but Sometimes when you're against a bigger opponent, it's hard to keep a guy's double arm up. Okay. So usually I'm trying to get just a head and arm position. Okay, and it's easy to isolate. So I get one of my hands in the middle, control Stanley's head, and I'm getting my finger into his armpit basically. Okay? And now what I would work to do is get at least my fingers underneath. I would be walking with them, straightening up, moving, straighten up, and then I'm gonna get to this position basically. Okay. This is the position one. I can go for head, arm triangles here. I'm just going to show you the arm bar today, okay? So what I do from here, I've got a nice hug on Stanley. I've got my hand underneath his armpit, and my other one's coming over and holding my elbow, and I'm putting weight over his head, okay? Now what I need to do is I need to bring my knee up beneath his elbow, okay? When I bring my knee beneath his elbow, it allows me to start becoming weightless on my other leg. You see I can rock onto this knee now, and it makes it easy for me to throw this leg over. Okay. Also, now I can let go of his elbow and hold my leg. So even if I am not holding on to anything now, my chest, and even if I came up a bit, my leg would block him from bringing his elbow down. You see what I mean? Okay. So from here, I'm bringing my knee underneath his armpit and putting weight over. Now I can put all my weight onto this knee under his armpit, and I can move this leg to S now. So look, my leg comes over and moves to S like this. Okay. So my legs are now like this, okay? You see, even from this position, I had my head hug. Even if I let go, Stanley trying to move his elbow back in towards me is very, very hard. I'm always going to have control of his elbow to start finishing with, okay? Because I'm controlling his shoulder. This is a very, very important thing. When I'm finishing arm bars, I want to have control of the shoulder the whole time, okay? If I have control of the shoulder, there's the whole time, at some point, I'm going to be able to get the arm, okay? So always be thinking about controlling the shoulder. Now, from this head hug, okay, my hand that was hugging his head can swim over and get elbow to elbow again, elbow to elbow again like this, okay? So what happened with this crom match is he got a bit excited and just immediately threw his leg over. Like, before I even did this, he basically just went and tried to throw his leg over and finish, okay? I can make it a lot calmer and a lot more controlled if I just do it much slower than that, okay? Okay, so what I do from here, so I make this switch, my hands are here, I make this switch to elbow. Most of the time the guy's going to control and defend here. Okay, so when I'm switching, look, if I try and bring my leg over, when my head's over his head, look, it's very, very hard for him to bring my leg over, okay? So what I do is I bring my head towards his knees, okay? Bring my head towards his knees. And now it's very easy for me to throw my leg over and start finishing, okay? Preferably, I could even finish, if he wasn't defending very well, he was going like palm to palm here. Preferably, I could even switch off here and just finish on top, which is very good. It's very hard for him to fight hands with him. Okay? But, another way, if I'm sitting back, I can bring my head to his legs, I underhook, I throw my leg over, and now when I go back, I have control of his legs, okay? Which stops one of the main problems when we're attacking from here, which is him scissoring his legs and coming on top like this, okay? Him scissoring his legs and coming on top. My underhook of his leg stopped that. He can't scissor and come up now because I have control of his leg, okay? Another problem would be him bringing his shoulder away from us, okay? Like his shoulder gets far enough so he can bring his elbow to the ground. We stop this by continually, if we feel him making micro adjustments to bring his shoulder away, we just make micro adjustments to put our hips over his shoulder, okay? This is like a very simple thing, but it's very, very important. Like if we're just chilling here and I'm relaxed and he's slowly inching his shoulder away from us and then he gets his elbow to the floor, we're done. We're in a very bad position. You always want to be slightly moving into him the whole time, okay? And I don't want to have my legs straight on like this. I want to have them slightly asymmetrical like this, okay? Because this also allows us, if he was palm to palm, this would also allow us easy access to start switching, to bringing our legs in. Now I can switch to triangles, I can switch to different forms of usually different armbar finishes, okay? So that's the switch, okay? One more time, let me show you. So I'm on mount, I lift his elbow up, okay? My knee comes underneath his armpit, switch like this, switch to the arm, bring my head to his knees, my arms on his legs, I bring my leg over, sit back, and I'm in the perfect position to start finishing, okay? So, let's go over finishing. See, I told you I'd go over 30 minutes. What's it called? Let's go over finishing the armbar, okay? So, Once again, it's important that you're controlling the person the whole time. Whenever you're going for any submission, you want to have control the whole way up to the finish. Okay. Mainly when we go for the finish is usually when they're most likely to escape. Okay. So we want to make sure we have as many points of control before we finish. All right. So when we're controlling, okay, I always have one hand controlling the arm. Obviously, I can either go hand to like collar like this. I can grab my own shoulder, or most usually we're going to go hand to hip. Okay. Now my free hand, I never want it like this. Like we have two hands on his arm. Reason being is exactly like I was saying earlier. If he scissors his legs and comes up, I have nothing stopping him. No hand on the leg. Also, there's no hand on the floor. So if he comes up into me, it's very, very easy. I'm going to go, so coming properly. My back's going to immediately hit the ground because I have nothing to stop me. Okay? Where if I have a hand on the leg, that's impossible. And even if I have a hand on the ground, so I can put my hand on the ground or my elbow on the ground, if he comes up in me now, it's very, very hard because I have a weight stopping me from him coming up. Okay? So that's control. And now, when we look to switch to get the arm, we're going through stages. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'll switch from controlling this controlling stage. So my hand will go off the ground. We'll switch to go elbow to elbow here. Okay. Now, the main thing, like I said last week, sorry, just go on. Oh yeah. When we're doing breaks, okay, people can hold their hands in different ways. Okay, so Stanley's doing S grip here. He could do palm to palm. He could also go elbow to elbow, or he could do the normal tendency, which is to this figure of four and this arm behind my leg. Okay. There's lots of different ways we can go about breaking them. Okay, but the main things that stand are these few concepts I'm going to go over. Okay, but not one break, one like arm separation thing is going to work on every different grip break. Like for instance, if he's palm to palm, I can move to go to triangles from here, or I can do the one I'm going to show in a bit. Okay, if he's doing this figure four one, okay, it's a lot harder to get to the wrist. So we have to do stuff like controlling his wrist here, stripping it, switching back. Okay, I'm just going to show you the palm to palm break for now. Okay, so I switch my arms. Okay, now my free hand that was controlling is going to go to his wrist. Okay, so look, my elbow moves to his wrist. Okay, my next move is to get his elbow to the bottom hip. Okay, like I was saying before, the right rule and the left. If I'm attacking his right arm, it's going to go over my right hip and over my right shoulder. If I was attacking his left arm, it would go over my left hip and my left shoulder. Okay, so what I do here is as soon as I get my my elbow here, I'm going to bring his elbow to my hip. Okay, now it's not working against his bicep. It's working against his shoulder cuff. If it was me versus Stanley and I'm just trying to pull on his arm and see if his arms give out and break, they're just not. Like, number one, Stanley's stronger than me. Even if he was the same size as me, it's still easy it's basically just two people leaning on each other's like basically structure. Like, I'm not going to be able to break his grip. Okay, so I switch. I go elbow to wrist, and now I'm bringing his elbow to my hip. Okay. It doesn't necessarily always need to be this Americana type fashion. Sometimes breaks happen in this other position like this, okay, which is kind of weird. Doesn't happen very much. But for instance, a time when that would happen is if he's got palm to palm here, and I come on top of him, I can create more pressure by bringing his arm through like this and finishing here. Okay, so that's another way I can break the grips. But for now, we'll go over what I show. So elbow to wrist, I bring it to my hip, and I'll see. Look, his forearm is flat across my midsection here. Okay, and now when I break the grip. Okay, this is when we risk it for Stanley to start bringing his legs and start doing the hitchhiker. Okay, the thing that will stop him is now I've finished the grip break. My hand that was deep, elbow to elbow, comes through and then controls his elbow and pins it to my hip. Okay, so now if he tries to hitchhiker now, he can't because I have control of his hip. Okay. I have control of his elbow. It's hard for him to turn his body. If I had his elbow on my other side, he'd easily turn out. Okay, so I'm controlling his bottom hip. Okay, now my hand goes to grab his wrist, and my other hand can double up on his wrist, and now we bring it to this shoulder. Okay, so now we're going right arm, right hip, right shoulder. Okay, now I'm pulling when I'm doing this finish, I'm pulling his arm into me, okay? I'm making, basically it's like, imagine you're trying to cut a rope, yeah? If there's no weight at the end of it, when you're cutting it, it just kind of flails. You want to create a nice tight piece to break, okay? So I'm pulling it towards me to make it nice and tight. My top arm, okay, my top arm that's coming over is pushing down and over my hip, and this other hand is pulling in as well. It's pulling down and over my hip, okay? So this one's pushing down, and this one's like pulling down, okay? So it's two motions like this. Also, I need the fulcrum to be as high as possible, okay? This is why passing across our midsection isn't good, okay? Number one, it's painful if you're male for starters, and also there's not enough space for me to push over, okay? You see how so if we're on the side more, you see how his fist can touch my chest, okay? Where if I bring it across the hip, okay, I have all this space now from his hand to the ground where I can break, basically, okay? So I want to be pulling in, down and over and break, okay? This leg dictates how high the wedge is, okay? On the fulcrum is, sorry. So if I bring my knee in towards me, okay, this immediately makes it tight, doesn't it? Okay? If I had a finish on the arm here and I raise this knee, okay, it immediately becomes tighter because the fulcrum becomes tighter. You can feel it here? This is shown very well in this. So look, when I'm finishing here, you see how I can bring it to my chest, and then I have to slightly raise my hips to get the tap. Okay. If I bring my leg, okay, I make a scissor armbar or scissor juji, which is this leg now comes behind Danny's head here. See how it's behind his head? And now this one's over the top. This raises the fulcrum of this hip. Okay. So now look, you see how high Stanley's arm is? Nowhere near my chest. I will get a tap before it goes near my chest. Okay, because the fulcrum is so high now on this leg. See, because my knee is so up and close, the fulcrum on my hip is very, very high now. So there's not a lot of space. Look, you see how high his arm is? I basically don't have to move at all when I get tapped, yeah? Yeah, and then that's how I'm finishing, okay? So the finishing is almost, my bottom leg, okay, I'm slightly raising like this. I can start moving towards triangles as well. But look, if you slightly raise your leg now, and then you're doing the same motion I was doing my arms, you get a nice tap, yeah? Okay. Yeah, this is one of those ones, it's one of those techniques you can actually feel yourself. If you're trying to do this on anybody, and you're physically moving, try to bring your knee as high as possible here, as you're pushing over, you'll get really nice breaks. You can feel it tighter, can't you? When I'm raising my leg. Okay. Right. That's all for today. Have you got any questions, sorry?
Yeah, just one. So, you know,
let me put the volume up because I can't hear you very well.
You still hear me?
Yeah, go on. Yeah, no, there's my volume, go on.
So, you know this fulcrum when you're raising your kind of right hip and triangles and stuff. Do you do this before you do the grip break, or do you do it after?
I would be doing it after the grip break. Okay. So what I mean by that. Okay. So can you understand me? Okay. So I can almost add pressure. Okay. Instead of lifting my hips, I can just add pressure by bringing my knee up. So when we're here, okay. I've already extended his arm, yeah? If I want to add pressure now, look, I can be finishing without even bringing my knee up, okay? Without even bringing it, I can start finishing already just by bringing it to the correct position. Also, bear in mind, one of the basic things is you always want his thumb up, okay? Like, you want his thumb facing the ceiling. This is when he can start turning his elbow out. You see it in the JM match, the guy starts to turn his elbow out. That's why when people haven't got good control of the thumb, that's why they start pushing it over this arm, because they feel they're going for this side, the thumb switches, and then they feel like they need to recorrect and they push it in the wrong direction. So look, I'm going to straighten it out like this, okay? And then as I'm finishing, to add pressure, I can just raise my hip. You see, I'm not going to push down with my arms anymore. I'm going to hold the arm here, and all I'm going to do to add the pressure is just raise my knee. Okay? So you're using almost like a scissoring motion. You're not doing a scissoring motion with your body, but the motion of the hands pulling it over your hip, and then you basically raising the fulcrum of your hip by bringing your knee in towards you. you understand what I mean?
Sure, yeah, do know, yeah.
Right,
Cool.
cool. Right, I'll see you next Wednesday, then, man. Right.
Yeah, see you next
Have
Wednesday.
a good day,
Bye.
man. Bye bye.
Cheers, you too. Bye.